I don't think anything about this is funny.
And maybe it is funny to think about it that way, but the president is talking about this as the most serious assault on our democracy.
I don't think anything about this is funny.
About voting rights and these Texas lawmakers who have come to Washington, do you know any examples from his 36 years in the Senate that Joe Biden just hopped on a train and left town to avoid a vote that he knew he was going to lose?
Welcome back. Look, I think that the president's view is that these Texas legislators were making a statement through action in opposition to efforts in their state to oppose restrictions on people's fundamental rights and their rights to vote in their state. That is why they departed. The vice president met with these legislators yesterday, and the president, I should say, certainly applauds their actions and their outspoken opposition to to efforts to put in place restrictive measures in their state.
And maybe it is funny to think about it that way, but the president is talking about this as the most serious assault on our democracy.
I don't think anything about this is funny. I think what is important to note, though, here is that there are 28 states, including Texas, where there are laws in place or in process to make it harder to vote. And it requires bold action. It requires bold voices to speak out against that and make sure people understand their rights. That's exactly what's happening here.
So does the candidate, who's now the president, who told people he knew how to make deals with Republicans, he's meeting with Republicans today, does he think that the best way to prevent something bad from happening, that he thinks is bad from happening in Texas, is for these lawmakers to be hiding out in a different state, or for them to go back and sit down at the table?
The president fundamentally believes you should work together in areas where you can find agreement, as he is on the bipartisan infrastructure framework that is going to help rebuild roads and rails and bridges around our country. And also that you should be outspoken where you have concerns about affronts to democracy. That's what he did yesterday, and that's what these legislators are doing now. So I have a special guest with me today. Joining us in the briefing room is actress and multi-platinum recording singer-songwriter Olivia Rodrigo, who traversed red lights and stop signs to see us. If you know her music, you'll get that dad jokes there. And we just want to thank you for using your platform and your voice for elevating the important issue of young people getting vaccinated. She's here today to meet with the president and Dr. Fauci later this afternoon, but she agreed to come say a quick hello to all of you first. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Olivia.
Hi. First, I want to say I am beyond honored and humbled to be here today to help spread the message about the importance of youth vaccination. I'm in awe of the work President Biden and Dr. Fauci have done and was happy to help lend my support to this important initiative. It's important to have conversations with friends and family members, encouraging all communities to get vaccinated and actually get to a vaccination site, which you can do more easily than ever before, given how many sites we have and how easy it is to find them at vaccines.gov. Thank you, Jen, for having me today, and thank you all for helping share this important message. It's so appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia, so much for joining us.
Can you answer the question? Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
I'm answering questions. Don't really feel any obligation to answer anything of you.
You and I both know that millions of people watch Fox News primetime every night. I have family members back in Texas who watch Fox News every night, and they're being deliberately misled, primarily for profit, by Fox News and its corporate supporters. So that was the question I had on my mind, and if it wasn't going to be a true dialogue, I decided I'd ask some questions of my own.
You have made a lot of money personally, and you've enriched a lot of corporations with advertising by getting on here and spewing lies and conspiracy theories to folks who trust you. And so what I'm asking you to do is to tell your voters right now that Donald Trump lost the election in 2020.
At least you've resolved the lie that is Democrats are now for voter ID. It's not your show, sir, but at least you resolved the idea that Democrats are not for voter ID.
Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
Real quick.
Can you answer the question? Did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
I'm answering questions. Don't really feel any obligation to answer anything
an uncomfortable question for you?
No.
I've never been on Fox News before, and I don't know Pete. So, I tried to start the conversation in good faith.
And after our former president, Donald Trump, started his big lie that the election was stolen, Republican legislators in capitals
Wait, how did you make this about Donald Trump in 20 seconds? That's a bit of a record.
My first couple answers were, actual answers to his questions, but once he continued to interrupt, as soon as he, seemed more interested in a monologue than a dialogue, I decided to ask questions of my own.
Are you okay with voter ID? Because you're going back to the talking points.
Voter ID is already the law in the state of Texas. It actually passed when I was in college. What we're talking about is the current effort to suppress the vote by reducing early voting hours, empowering partisan poll watchers, shutting down drive-through voting, and making it harder to distribute mail-in ballots. Those are the issues at hand. If you want to debate voter ID, you should probably travel back in time to the early aughts. That was the time to have that debate. In Texas, you are more likely to get struck by lightning than to commit voter fraud. Our indicted Attorney General spent 22,000 man-hours and millions of dollars searching the entire state for cases of voter fraud. And out of millions of votes cast in the state of Texas, he only found 17 cases of folks who made mistakes on their voter registration form. That's it. So voter fraud doesn't exist. So when you recognize that, then you have to assume that the only reason Republicans are trying to suppress the vote is because of Donald Trump's big lie that the last election was stolen. And they gave us no other option. If we believe in this democracy of ours, we were forced to come to our nation's capital and beg, plead, implore with our federal counterparts to take immediate action to save democracy and restore voting rights in Texas and across the country.
Well, I'm very honored to see you, and I look forward to our conversation. And it goes without saying that the relationship between our two countries is one founded on many shared values and commitments, including a commitment to democracy around the world. So welcome.
Ja, ich freue mich auch sehr und über diese Gelegenheit, die erste Vizepräsidentin der Vereinigten Staaten zu treffen und über die gesamten Besuchen natürlich. Und ich glaube auch, dass wir dafür arbeiten, die demokratischen Werte zu stärken und immer wieder fortzuentwickeln.
Well, I can only say that I'm delighted too for this opportunity here to meet the first national vice president of the United States of America, and I think that we can indeed cooperate very well in order to boost democratic values and also continue to build on that and further development.
Please, let's congratulate you.
Just
the Budget Committee has come to an agreement. The budget resolution with instructions will be $3.5 trillion. You add that to the $600 billion in the bipartisan plan, you get to 4.1, which is very, very close to what President Biden asked us for. Every major program that President Biden has asked us for is funded in a robust way. And in addition, we are making some additions to that. Most important, something that Senator Sanders has led and convinced America is so important, which is a robust expansion of Medicare, including including money for dental, vision, and hearing. Joe Biden is coming to our lunch tomorrow to lead us on to getting this wonderful plan that affects American families in a so profound way, more than anything that's happened in generations. We are very proud of this plan. We know we have a long road to go, but we're going to get this done for the sake of making average Americans' lives a whole lot better. Bernie.
Thank you. Let me just thank Chuck Schumer and all the members of the Budget Committee and the chairman of the various committees for the incredibly hard work they have done and are doing. This is, in our view, a pivotal moment in American history. And for a very long time, the American people have seen the very rich getting richer and government developing policies which allow them to pay, in some cases, not a nickel in federal income taxes. They've seen corporations make huge profits. In some cases, they're not paying a nickel in taxes. And what this legislation says, among many, many other things, that those days are gone. The wealthy and large corporations are going to start paying their fair share of taxes so that we can protect the working families of this country. And all over America, in Vermont, Washington, and Michigan, wherever it may be, you got mom and dad going to work and they can't afford child care. They're scared to death about whether or not they can afford to send their kids to college. And they go to work over a bridge which is crumbling. And what this legislation does is says we're going to create millions of good paid union jobs, rebuilding this country not only from a physical infrastructure, but dealing with the human needs of our people, which are many, which have long been neglected. And last point, anybody who watches what's going on in California, the West Coast today, what's going on around the world, understands that if we do not get our act together in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel, that the planet we're going to be leaving our children and our grandchildren will be increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. And our grandchildren are going to look us in the eye 30 years from now and say, what did you do? Didn't you know how you had to act? Well, today we begin the process of having this great country lead the world in transforming our energy system. This is a big deal. And I'm just very proud of the entire committee for the good work that they all have.
Mark.
Well, let me follow Bernie and echo what he said and thank Chuck Schumer for his leadership and the whole committee. There are times to do really big things. This is one of those times. The time to think about, in the 21st century, is America going to lead the way? Or are other nations like China going to outcompete us, out-invent us, out-innovate us? The plan we put together, which is fully paid for, will make the investments in American families. We'll take on what Bernie, and frankly led mostly by Sheldon Whitehouse, the existential threat of climate change in a way that will meet the needs of leading the world on this critical issue. I make no illusions how challenging this is going to be, and I want to thank all of the members from both parties who are working on the bipartisan infrastructure plan. We've got a ways to go on that, but huge progress is made. I've been in this job for now about 12 years. I can't think of a more meaningful effort that we're taking on than what we're doing right now. probably more meaningful than anything I've done in my public service. I think a lot of us have realized this is that moment where we rally this country to dream big and do big things. And I think over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see that executed on the floor of the Senate. Thank you.
If we pass this, this is the most profound change to help American families in generations.
Do you have all 50 on board yet? Do you have all 50 on board yet?